Hey, what's up everybody? It's your man Simo with a new project for you. This time I came up with something completely different, giving dead roots a new life. I started noticing how cool some of the roots were on old fallen trees in the woods, and I realized I could just cut off the stump and turn them into some awesome bonsai or driftwood looking sculptures. Now I got 4 models in this video to take you through, so let's get right into it. To start, you just gotta find one that catches your eye and get to sawing. You could use a chainsaw, of course, but I kinda like the extra workout. Not to mention having to carry them back to the woods, but it's definitely worth it.
What you think, dude? No comment, huh? Oh, you think it's awesome.
And they're always covered in dirt and grime, so I gotta power wash them first. After they dry, I use a drill and wire brush to go over them thoroughly. And it was nice this time, chilling by a fire and going over all 4 of them throughout the night. The next step is to use my Dremel tool and sand them down, getting ready for the paint, as well as make sure it all flows together well without any random jagged pieces that look out of place. After the sanding was done, I brushed off the sawdust and used a knife to clear away any leftover pieces that got stuck in the many crevices. I was now ready to start painting, but first I had to mix some of my own blacklight ink simply by squeezing out the ink from highlighters. That way I could add that ink to the various paints and get some more extra color variations. Now it's important to note that when you're doing this, and say your cat wants to come inside, you should be sure to let him in. Yeah. Alright, now with the cat safely inside like a mofo, you're good to start painting. I never really had an exact plan here, and basically just picked a spot to begin and let the flow come to me. I ended up having to go over the same spots again and again since the wood just absorbs so much of the paint. And so I decided to make it easier and just spray paint the whole thing with fluorescent paint. After giving that a few coats and letting it dry, I was ready to get back to work. It was quite a challenge figuring out how to blend the different paints and also spread the colors in so many different directions while keeping it all flowing together.
See, the problem is when you have the lights on and you see the art, the colors seem to flow together just right. But then you turn it on just the black light and you can see how hard it is to make all the colors match up. Like, see how those spots of red stand out? See little drips here and there. You can see it's just rough transition of colors. And that's what makes this take forever.
There was also the problem of getting into so many tiny crevices like you see here. And every time I thought I was done, I'd find another one, which ended up ruining a few brushes just trying to force them into such narrow spaces. But God knows how many coats and hours later I was so happy to be done, and I left out a lot of the painting since it's just watching the same thing over and over again pretty much.
Finally done.
And now I was ready to give it a final coat of sealing and to make it shine. And after a few coats of that, I let it dry and transferred it into a nice pot. I also added a layer of aquarium gravel to help set it off, and BAM! Now I was really done and was able to admire the hell out of it and take some pictures. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Yeah, I know. I'm awesome. What can I say? I really love how it looks like a different piece from a new angle. There's just so many complexities at play. And here you can see it in just black light, though the camera doesn't seem to pick it up as well as I hoped. Alright, well, I really hope you like this one. Let's go ahead and get sanding and trimming away on the next one, which I went with a more natural theme with a red tint. After brushing off the debris, I went right into the painting, which combined Rit fabric dye and wood stain. And you can see on the little scrap piece of wood in front of it, where I first tested out the products and found that I needed to do the red first, because the wood stain overpowered it and made it hard for the red dye to absorb through. Other than that, it's just like painting a room pretty much. You just gotta keep on moving. The good thing is, I didn't have to worry about how much dye to use. I basically just coated it until it was covered and it all dried evenly. Though I did need to apply the wood stain before the dye dried, so I kept alternating as it went. Like the other one, I left out a lot of the painting again, and though it was a lot more work than it seems, this one was far easier considering there's not so many colors at play. After painting, I let it dry overnight, then came back and gave it a good shine. Other than that, it was just a matter of putting it in a nice pot and adding some white gravel this time. Then just enjoying the fruits of the labor. For the third one, I tried something new I called a golden lightning theme, and decided to paint with fire by torching the entire piece black. It took a while to get the entire stump, but it's pretty satisfying to watch, especially for fellow pyros like myself. I did keep a bucket of water next to me for safety, and also had to sprinkle some water quite a few times when some of the parts started to burn too much. After it cooled down a bit, I used the power washer again since there was a ton of excessive char to get rid of. And once it dried, I put some elbow grease into brushing off the remaining debris. And you want to be sure not to use anything like a wire brush or scour pad because it would scratch up. I also went over it with a wet rag, but even after that, it left black marks on my hands from the char, so I used gloves to handle it from here. Next, I decided I wanted to make it look like golden lightning was striking all throughout it, and so I used my hot glue gun and got to work. This seemed to go on forever, because you have to move slowly to get the glue to dry nice and smooth, and getting it to flow takes a ton of practice. But if you've seen my previous videos, you know I've done this many times, so I was used to it. If you look closely, you can see where I used my Dremel tool to add some grooves for the glue, though I tried to apply it mostly with the natural valley-like spots of the stump. It takes a decent eye and a bit of imagination to figure out the best spots to apply the glue. Other than that, it was just a ton of gluing and trying not to break the many branches as I moved it around. And that can be quite a challenge considering how they stick out so much and some are so thin and brittle. I gave it some final touches in cleaning, and gave it its glossy coating with a nice pot, and there you go. Round 3 down and looking awesome. So let's go ahead and get to the last, but definitely not least. For this one I went with a metallic rainbow theme. And I'm sure you're getting to know the drill by now, and since it was already wire brushed, I went right into the sanding and trimming, then brushing, and after that I learned from my first one, and decided to spray paint it first, which I used gold and chrome as the base layer. Once it dried, I was on to the main paint job, and I got all my metallic colors lined up and ready to roll. Once again, just trying to let it flow, I picked up a spot and just let it happen. Doing my best to make the colors blend and laying out a pattern that looks more natural and a bit chaotic, rather than just even layers like a machine or something. This one wasn't as challenging to blend as the blacklight one, but since it was my first time doing a metallic spectrum, it did take a bit of experimenting and going over the same spots several times to get it right. And as always, those many crevices can be rough. There's also the lighting factor, and when I thought I was done, I'd take it outside and see several spots I completely missed. Eventually I got there and gave it its nice glossy finish with the pot to hold it in place, and it felt pretty good to officially be done with all 4. It's always a lot more work than I think it's going to be, and I can get pretty frustrated at times when I end up wasting so much time, but I love doing it for the most part, especially when I get in that flow state and just truly vibe in the moment. That's what it's all about for me. Well, that and being able to bring something completely new and creative into the world that really captures the imagination. I really hope you guys love these new pieces like I do, and if you want to help show some support and can see yourself with something like this in your home or on your porch or your yard, or even as a gift for someone else, just shoot me a message. You know I appreciate it. I can make you one custom too with whatever colors or styles you want. And since I really love this new project, I'm going to keep hunting for more stumps and unique roots in the woods and doing several more styles to come. So be sure to do the old like, share, and subscribe and whatnot. And if you're watching on YouTube, definitely hit that bell icon for future notifications. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Simo out. Peace. Haha! Yes.